like games. If you're on this video, on this channel, this most likely holds true to you. But I'm going to make the case that whereas we can like individual games, products, or anything for that matter, movies as well, we should not be fans of the franchise. We should take our fondness on a per product basis and not for the entire franchise. Me personally, the first time this thought came to me was a number of years ago after playing a number of Final Fantasy games. FF7, best game ever created. FF10, very good game. But between FF7 and FF10, a friend loaned me, well, he gave me FF8. He didn't like RPGs. As a matter of fact, he called RPG, or he said that RPG was short for rarely played games. So he gave me FF8, bought FF9, bought FF10, bought FF12. And after buying FF12, I realized that of the 5 Final Fantasy games that I've played, I only like 2. That's 40% of just what I've played. So is it fair to consider myself a fan of Final Fantasy when I dislike more of the games than I like? It doesn't matter how much I like those 2 games. The fact still remains that as a franchise, they are more miss than hit with me. Another thing, this was pre-Disney, was Star Wars. I like the first 3 movies. The prequels, no, I didn't like the movies, but I like the world that they created. So even though I wouldn't want to rewatch most of the prequel movies, I wouldn't mind watching movies set in that universe. But still, at that time, there were 3 Star Wars movies that I liked, and 3 that were meh to didn't like. So toss up. I can't say that's a fan. Now with Disney from The Force Awakens, I'm like, okay, I'm no longer a fan, because now, like Final Fantasy, I dislike more movies or more products of that franchise than I like. Now, why is this important? How many times, maybe some of you who are listening to this video yourself have been in this position, or you heard others say it, that they dislike a movie or a game, but they bought it the next installment anyway, simply because they've been playing it for years or decades. In that situation, who benefits, you or the company? You see, being a fan doesn't benefit us as consumers, it benefits the company, because loyalty is very important to them, very useful to them. It will put you in a mindset where you will buy something you would otherwise not buy simply out of a sense of loyalty. But the companies, as they've so clearly shown recently, are not loyal to you. They are willing to degrade and discredit their own products in order to serve some nebulous, weird, vague, anti-reality, left-wing, quote-unquote democratic agenda. So they aren't loyal to you. So why should you be loyal to them? So once you break yourself from that identity of being a fan of the franchise, it becomes a lot easier for you to just ignore certain games or movies or books or whatever the case may be. You won't have that reluctance to just cut ties. So for a number of years now, I've lived by this principle when it comes to entertainment products. Never be so attached to something that you can't simply walk away. And it's been serving me quite well. Whereas people have been dying in agony for Star Wars and Star Trek and Doctor Who, and people are worried about GTA, I just take it in stride. And so, well, if something is woke, or sometimes it doesn't even have to be woke, because in the case of Final Fantasy, the previous ones, 8 wasn't good, or rather, I didn't like 8, 9 was alright, I didn't like 12. None of those games were woke, but they just simply weren't good. So if you find a game disagreeable for whatever the reason, be it quality or messaging, once you don't identify yourself as a fan of that franchise, it's very easy for you to just say, nah, I'm done. And I think if more gamers had that mindset, to be willing to say, nah, I'm done, companies, they still aren't loyal, but they would realize that pandering to this fringe social reconstruction, authoritarian, dystopic identity will not yield financial results in the long run, and they will simply stop. I am a fan of Monster Hunter World, but not Monster Hunter. One, World is my first game, and 2, before Wilds came out, I was still skeptical and saying, well, if Wilds is woke nonsense, I would simply not buy it. Now, the Wilds unfortunately did this stupid thing of not announcing that game years before the game is ready. The game is set to release in 2025 at some point. Could be Christmas, the fall, winter of 2025, so that could be 2 years away. Very hard to be hyped for a game that long, but if Monster Hunter Wilds fails to deliver for whatever the reason, be it the mechanics not as engaging, or be it that they actually have some wokeness, and that is right now that is more of a threat than poor mechanics from what I've seen and heard of people commenting about Monster Hunter through the years. Mechanics seem to be generally solid, but the woke thing now, boy, if Monster Hunter Wilds is woke, I will simply not buy it, despite how much I like Monster Hunter World. Because you see, going back to Final Fantasy, the series, I got 7. FF7 was actually the greatest trade in human history. I think at the time I got a Game Boy. It was depending on how old you are, you won't understand this. The Game Boy that had the green background and the black sprites. Yeah, it's not even color, those. I got that, and I think my cousin got FF7. I had the PlayStation at the time. He didn't, and so we swapped. In that moment, I thought I got ripped off, because as a child, you were into, like, everybody was playing Game Boy at the time. I wanted the Game Boy, but lo and behold, that was the single greatest trade I have ever made in my life. But getting back to it, so I got 7. I played 7, loved 7. I got 8. 8 was not good. I bought 9 because I like 7. Didn't like 9 anywhere near as much as 7. I bought 10 because I like 7. 10 was pretty good. I bought 12 because I like 10. Didn't like 12. So if I had assessed 9 and 12 on their own without saying, boy, I like 7 and I like 10, therefore let me buy it, I wouldn't have bought either of those titles. And it would save, 1, it would save your money, and over time this adds up, and 2, it will save you the time and the frustration of playing a game that you don't like. And to make matters even worse, now you have some games, or we're tempted with the sunk cost fallacy, where if you buy the game, you think, well, and you don't like the game, you think, I must beat the game, I must force myself to beat the game to get my money's worth. Sound familiar? But if you are unhappy playing the game, you'll be better off simply cutting your losses and stop playing that bad game or game that you don't like, and play something else. So, to wrap everything up, I think we should evaluate products on a per instance basis and not be fans of franchises, because being a fan of a franchise does not benefit us, it benefits companies. And companies and consumers have opposing views. They want to extract as much money from us by giving us the least possible, and we want to extract the most from them while giving the least money possible. So it is best that consumers remember that companies are not our friends.